I'm going to start, and I'm going to be short-winded for once in my life so we can get into what you think is going to happen in this game. Clemson and Florida State. Now, 12 o'clock on Saturday. What's the line?
Clemson is currently +2 at home.
All right. I want you to stew and get fired up because this is the first time since 2016 that Clemson is a home underdog in Death Valley. I'm assuming if it's 2016, that had to be the Louisville game with Lamar Jackson. I was there for that game. It was incredible, an incredible atmosphere. I kind of feel like they did a little bit of a disservice. And I think both fan bases would probably agree with this, that they had this game at noon instead of the night game, because I think there's a lot of good memories for Florida State going up there at night with an elite team. You got a top 5 Florida State team, I believe, going into this game for the first time since 2013. That was a 51-14 beatdown with Jameis Winston and company in Death Valley. Clemson has been really, really good. They have one loss in, I think, like their last 20, 30 plus games at home. And that was last year by 1 point to South Carolina. Florida State has all the momentum in the world. This is like a really fun matchup for a lot of reasons. It's not just on the field what we're going to see, but because of the fact that Florida State and Clemson, there's not two programs and two coaches that are doing things more differently than these two teams and these two programs. Talking about the transfer portal and the way that both teams are attacking that, all the above. I saw Clemson struggle against Duke. Duke's a better team than we give them credit for. I heard what Dabo said about how we could go in and we can do if we play the same type of game. I think what was his quote? We won't lose another game all season, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Here's the bottom line. This is the first time in probably a decade that Florida State is going to go into Death Valley, and one, they're going to have more dudes. They're going to have better skill position players. They're going to have better quarterback play. They might have a better defense, but they are going to all the important matchups of this game. Florida State not only has the advantage in, they're also not fucking scared. They opened up this season and absolutely trounced. I mean, just skull dragged an SEC powerhouse in LSU. I'll say by 28, even though I know the final score is 21 because the garbage time touchdown. Florida State is not scared of anyone. And I know what happened last week in Boston, in Chestnut Hill, when they were playing BC and they had a 2-point win. Part of me, and mostly all of me, thinks that was probably because they were looking forward to this game. And Florida State is one of the top 3 teams, if not the number 1 team in the country by resume and by talent and everything they have done on the field this season. And I think this entire thing with Dabo, I think it might be a little bit overblown how bad the program might be. But I do know one thing, that when they take the field on Saturday, they are not the best team that's going to be on that field. And the best team on that field is going to be in garnet and gold. And Florida State's going to go in there and prove a point. And I think they win. I think Florida State wins this game. I think it's close early. I think they have the horses, especially at receiver and especially the skill positions, that is going to be way too much to handle for Clemson. I think they pulled away big in the second half. And I've got Florida State 34-20.
Oh, man. I hope you're right. So my look on this game, FSU looked awful last week. It was a classic look-ahead spot. You've got the red bandana game that BC always gets up for and plays well. They were also up 31-10 in that game, and they completely took their foot off the gas. It has now been confirmed, I mentioned on the pod and the recap pod, that multiple players had the flu. So I think that also had to do with them wearing down towards the end of the game as well.
Okay, Georgia.
The most frustrating aspect of that game was the explosive plays allowed on defense on 3rd and long. I'm hoping they get that fixed this week. But Clemson doesn't have an explosive offense thus far this year.
No.
Klubnik is a bit careless with the ball. The receivers currently have a 10% drop rate, which is not great.
Yes.
They still have an elite front 7. Florida State's O-line is much improved, but they still haven't been able to get a strong run game going. And I think it's because they haven't run Jordan Travis a ton.
Yeah.
And I think they've been waiting for this game. Like the LSU game, he ran a bit. That game, you could have lost and still had all of your goals on the table.
Yeah.
This game is meant to prove a point that Florida State is back in the ACC hunt. And I think Clemson is going to take advantage of Florida State's defensive weakness, which is that linebacker and safety. That does worry me. BC took advantage of it in a big way. Clemson's going to see that on tape. I assume they take advantage of it. But Clemson has been awful at finishing drives. We saw it in the Duke game. They moved down the field just fine, but then when they got in the red zone, everything collapsed.
Yeah.
Florida State's actually been okay. It's been the opposite on defense almost for Florida State. They've kind of let people go down the field, but then you saw in the LSU game they had fourth down stands in the red zone twice, I believe. Mm-hmm. Travis got injured last week with his shoulder. That worries me in terms of running him, but I think Norvell's been good in big games calling offenses, and I think I expect Florida State to utilize Jordan Travis's legs as a weapon here to get that run game going. I agree with you. The receivers are going to have a big game. I like Florida State to win the game. I like them to cover. It's going to be closer than yours, 31-27. Mm-hmm. But I like Florida State to come away with this, be 4-0, and have all of their goals in front of them as far as making the college football playoff.
Let me say one more thing about that too, to Florida State, to like the point you're making about Florida State. And here's another reason why I love the fact that I think Florida State wins this game. When you have your chance to put your foot on someone's throat and end their season this early, especially with this rivalry, you fucking do it. And I think that Florida State is going to come out there and do that because they have this is like, if it was 3-0, there is almost more of like a little bit of a like, well, if either way, if we win or lose, there's probably going to be a match. There's going to be a rematch, right? You got a chance to end it now, end it right now, and go ahead and take advantage of that, and then not coast the rest of the year, but put them out early.